Thank you, everyone. I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here for M&I University, which is free online learning brought to you by M&I, led by industry professionals. For those of you who may not be familiar with M&I, let me give you a quick snapshot. M&I, or Manufacturers News, has been around for over 100 years with the nation's oldest and largest compiler of industrial manufacturing data. So again, for over 100 years, we've been dedicated to connecting buyers and sellers through our publications, our online tools, such as Industry Select and Industry Net. And M&I University is our latest initiative. We've been doing this for about 3 years now. I believe in the power of knowledge and its ability to transform businesses and individuals. So our goal is to equip you with skills and insights and the inspiration needed to stay ahead in today's fast-paced manufacturing landscape. Our carefully curated courses cover a wide array of topics from sales and marketing to supply chain management and emerging trends. We've partnered with industry leaders and experts to bring you engaging, informative content that you can access anywhere at your own pace, wherever you are. So buckle up and get ready. Dave, the floor is yours.
All right. Thanks, Katie, and thanks to M&I for being a fantastic partner on these. And it's always so much fun to present and to help manufacturers close more deals, to connect out with the people that they're really trying to reach, and all of the things that go into helping to nurture and grow your business. And as we were talking a little bit before recording started, yeah, it's tough to have a conversation right now. And the world has changed a little bit. It's harder to get in front of people. A lot of folks have gone virtual and or are working from home at least a couple days a week. And so you need to have a system and a process in order to really engage those people more and better than ever before. As we get going, a note to our attendees, if you do have a question, please just go ahead and use the chat function, or we'll have some live Q&A. We'll probably pause the recording before that, especially if you ask us to, but we want to make sure that this is your time for your education, but this is also being broadcast live, so we'll do everything we can to take care of your context and the things that you need to know while we present. So a little bit about me and BusyWeb. My company was founded in 1999, so we are in our 25th year of helping our clients grow and generate leads in the manufacturing world. We are HubSpot partners and Google partners. I'm actually a speaker and trainer for both Google and HubSpot, and I take that initiative and that expertise to our clients. We have a team of 25 folks based in Minneapolis that do all the things that you see on screen, plus much, much more, mostly around generating leads and then helping you automate and close those leads through things like CRM and automated follow-ups and a lot of the things that we're going to talk about today. So let's get started. Here's what we're going to go through in 4 easy steps. We have the first step, which is identifying what lead nurturing really is. And then we're going to talk about how to build up your segmentation strategy, how to build proactive workflows to make sure that you never miss another lead, and then, of course, those handy and always needed next steps. So let's dig right in. At the bottom of each slide, you may notice that there is a short code link to a handy lead calculator. That's bit.ly/bzclc. And then also, if you need to get a hold of me to chat about any of these things, or if you have follow-up questions, my email address is on screen as well. If it's too small for you to see, it's dave@busyweb.com. So let's talk about what lead nurturing is. It's the process of building relationships with your prospects. What we're trying to do is not just broadcast that we're available and trying to spam or annoy people into submission, but instead building a real relationship with people that can stand the test of time, that can lead to multiple sales over a series of months or years, and also leads to additional referrals, which are much easier to close. What we're trying to do inside of the sales process is anything that's going to get us more better leads. And a lot of times a referral is the most trusted source, or even better, if you're getting an additional sale from someone that you've already worked with, it's 10 times easier than building something or getting a new lead from someone that you've never met before. This is all done in a process. So if you see on screen, the circle that we see here is called the marketing flywheel. And the process of generating leads now is not just marketing and then hoping for a magical click that will land a deal. Especially in manufacturing, we're building relationships that will lead to hopefully several $100,000 in revenue. With that larger price tag often comes a lot more risk for your buyer. So they need to feel like their answers or their questions are answered and that they're connected and that they know what you do and how you can help them succeed. So attract in the upper right corner is the first thing that we do inside of the marketing workflow. But then from there, you want to engage those people. And that's where a lot of the automation that I'm going to talk about happens. You can build your connections and your marketing into a tool that it's almost like a choose your own adventure where people can explore and connect and grow their knowledge about how you can handle and work with them without you having to lift a finger. We have to do a little bit of build at the beginning, but if we build this right in the proper workflows, you can connect and engage those people in better ways than ever before. And of course, if you do your job right, and if you deliver a wonderful product, and if you follow up and you're answering their questions, that leads to delight, which leads to those additional referrals and more business from those clients. So in action, if you visit a website for a company and you see a little pop-up or you're scrolling through a blog post and you're you're presented with a button that says, the beginner's guide to manufacturing marketing. You then send a follow-up message that builds on that content after they give you that information. Now, in real life, this is pretty messy as far as building a real connection flow. And as anyone that's made a major purchase in the near past knows, you do a lot of research and there are a lot of different things that you pull in when you're connecting and looking for the proper solution to whatever it is, whether it's a manufacturing solution, whether it's, stamping and parts manufacturing, high tolerance or low tolerance kinds of molds, or if it's something as silly and easy as buying a new TV. You're going to download and look at spec sheets. You're going to look for testimonials and browse that website of that company. You might receive an email after you've submitted something to that company. And it goes all the way through where you're engaging, you're looking at pricing, you might get a sales call and you get a support call from someone after the fact, and you may even submit a ticket. If you do this all right, you're going to end up with a delighted customer that's going to keep coming back to you. But it is a process. So we're going to talk through a number of ways that you can connect up and make sure that you don't miss any of these touch points. And it doesn't have to be complicated in order to do so. So there are 5 steps to creating what I like to call a fully functional lead nurturing campaign. But for our purposes, we just want to make sure that we don't miss any opportunities to connect and engage. Of course, our first step is going to be to set goals. We're going to look at and make sure that we're connecting with the right people by paying some attention to personas. We're going to look at the right kinds of content delivered over the right timelines, and then to make sure that we're not missing any opportunities or that we're optimized for conversions, we're going to measure everything that we do, and we're going to test and improve over time. So let's go through those steps in turn. 5 steps to creating our lead nurturing campaign starts with setting a good goal. Now, if you've been involved in marketing or any business stuff really at all, SMART is one of those things that's hard to avoid. SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-based goals. It's the difference between I want more customers and I want 3 new appointments set this week that are specifically relating to this product, right? And that product being your product and that time frame being very specific. If you set it too short, sometimes you're not going to get enough data or enough inputs to have it be helpful, and you might get discouraged and stop. If you set it too long, You're going to get bigger numbers, but you're not going to be able to really adjust. So if you say, I want to double my business within the next 10 years, well, that's not really that great of a time frame, right? Because 2 years in, if you're not anywhere near it, or if you're completely crushing it, you're going to need to adjust and adapt, right? In our case here, I want to set an appointment within 3 interactions or within 5 days of our first contact. That's what's called an SLA, or a service level agreement. But if you're doing this right, you're setting up goals that actually matter to the lead flow of your business. So we need to know what our customer types are inside of our personas. And in order to do that, you need to really pay attention to who your best customers are. So those personas are very important. If you don't have a ideal customer profile, or an ICP, for your business, and most businesses probably have 4 or 5 different ideal kinds of customers, but if it can be as simple as just looking at your 5 favorite customers, or the ones that give you the most revenue. Sometimes those top revenue customers are also pretty painful to interact with. So make sure that you're getting some of your favorite customers that you always answer the call because you know it's going to be a delightful interaction. Or maybe it's a high volume interaction that you're looking at. And so are those new customers versus returning customers? What kinds of people are you looking for that are going to help you to grow your business? And then, of course, we need great content. So focusing on content that is designed to encourage your customers to want more. This is giving people a blog post or submitting a newsletter to your email list that has a piece of content in it that answers questions that they need to do their job. Having content that is interesting, that is engaging, and that inputs as part of an entire lead flow is going to be incredibly helpful. And I'm going to talk about buyer's journey in a little bit, but it's really, we have phases of our journey as we're becoming customers with any company. First, we're researching and we're trying to identify what the problem that we have even is. Then once we identify the problem and we start looking for solutions, we're looking for potential partners or solutions to that answer to the need. And then once we're done, we want to make sure that we're going back and connecting with them to give them more of what they wanted, and maybe even to make another sale down the road. Timelines are very important inside of our lead generation, so that you're not being overbearing or spamming people. If you fill out a form with a company and they immediately hit you with 15 emails, and then the next day it's 30 emails, you're probably going to just hit spam, unsubscribe, scream at them, whatever. Conversely, if you submit something and you're like, okay, well, I need this white paper, or I need this instruction manual, or I need this video that shows me how to use the product or service, and I never receive it, or it takes me a week to receive that email, that's going to be far too long of a time frame. So you probably want to have an immediate response inside of your first connection when someone asks for something. And then generally, I like doing something maybe within 1 or 2 days afterwards to broaden out the scope or give them more of what they talked about or what they were looking for. If they were looking for a white paper or a sheet, a spec sheet, maybe something that relates to that product or that interacts or that is helpful as they can then continue down the journey. And then probably 3 or 4 days, if they don't respond, send them something that is either more specific or more broad in order to re-engage them or bring them further down into the rabbit hole of engagement. And then if they haven't responded at all after 3 or 4 times, then you would simply place that person into a teaser or a continual re-engagement list that you'll send them, basically just your monthly newsletter, to remind them that you're still around, that you have helpful, easy content, and that you can be the solution to their needs. After you've set all this up and you've got a wonderful lead nurturing flow going, you're also going to want to make sure to measure to improve. So if we use the proper reporting, this is super easy inside of CRMs like HubSpot. The marketing tools, you can simply run an AI generated report just to say, what were my top five for my top five customers from the past month, what did they engage with in my marketing? You can say that into a tool like HubSpot, and it'll actually give you the different inputs. They subscribed to our newsletter, they looked at this blog, they reviewed our video, they responded to this one LinkedIn post that the CEO made. And you can get all of that data and then use that data to do more of what works. It's usually tempting to try and do something to fix things that aren't working. It's like, man, we really wanted our YouTube channel to go crazy and to engage people, but we haven't gotten anybody to subscribe to that YouTube channel. The market may simply be telling you that that's not the place to go. So spend less time trying to fix things that don't work and more time trying to optimize things that do work. Now, should we do all of these things and try to connect? You need to have some sort of a system because speed does matter. As a matter of fact, when you can respond within 5 minutes versus 30 minutes, HubSpot's research says that it's 21 times greater likely that you're going to close a deal if you contact immediately. It sets the tempo of a sale. Even for long, drawn out multi-month sales, if you can respond and show people that you're serious right away, it's going to lead to much better results. So let's look a little deeper into creating the best kinds of engagement by targeting the right kinds of people. Segmentation is simply the process of separating your customers into groups based on common traits that they share. So it might be as simple as the different kinds of decision makers. If you're trying to engage with people that are on production line versus engineers versus CMOs or CFOs in your marketing, you're going to have to deliver different content. So people that are very tactical and that are actually dealing with the product want to know the specs. They want to know how it works. They want to know how to handle the different problems that they might encounter as they're implementing or using your product. Conversely, a CFO might be more interested in the ROI, to throw all kinds of acronyms at you, right? The chief financial officer is the money person in the business, and they want to know the return on investment if they go with your product or service versus someone else. There are different life cycle stages that you can set, and I've got a couple of screenshots inside of my favorite tool, HubSpot, on how that looks. You should have different life cycle segments in your marketing for 3 different kinds of people: subscribers, who are people that have engaged with you but haven't become a customer yet; leads, who have filled out a form and offered intent that they're interested in working with you and they are actually likely to purchase; and then, of course, customers. Customers are a unique and intensely valuable type of business relationship that you want to spend a lot of attention to, because if they have questions, they're much more likely to need immediate answers. And if you don't answer those questions, like I said before, it's 10 times easier to get an additional sale from an existing customer than it is to find someone, certainly from among subscribers, right? So it's spreading seeds versus pruning your fruit from the tree. In order to segment people, again, I like creating personas to identify who those best kinds of leads are. There's a fantastic tool available on the web. MakeMyPersona.com is incredibly helpful, and you can build a persona or an ideal customer profile for your audience by simply going to that website, MakeMyPersona.com, and telling it who you're looking for. And who your favorite customers are, right? So a lot of times it's tempting to just go for the most easy persona. I want billionaires that have an affinity for my product or service and love spending money, right? Well, that's easy, but you probably have a much more specific persona that is going to be ideal for you. And like I said, most companies have a few different kinds of personas. And so there might be the more executive level persona, the people that are making the business decisions. There's probably the people that are influencers to those decision makers, the people that are on the line, or even project managers that are running spreadsheets and trying to figure out your product versus your competitor and looking at simple things like specs and tolerances. And if you can match that to the right person, you're going to have much easier time making that sale. There's a lot of other kinds of segmentation that you can do other than like role level. You can have geographic, sometimes there are shipping challenges or other supply chain challenges depending on geography. If you're going overseas versus you're in the US, psychographic segmentation might be their personality and their attitude towards your product or service, how likely they are to want to pull the trigger immediately, what their interests are. Interests are important because you want to be where people hang out. Being a part of or engaging with other kinds of YouTube channels or other kinds of publications, magazines, and so on that might be helpful or informative to your audience. Technology, are they mostly on mobile devices? For the people that are on the line and that are actually pulling things through and part of the manufacturing process, they're mostly going to be on mobile devices. And if they have a breakdown on the assembly line, they're not going to go to a computer or talk to a manager. They're going to grab their phone and they're going to look for you. So making sure that your website and that your content is mobile friendly and easy to find is incredibly important. Things like behavioral segmentation, how often or frequent or infrequent they are going to use your products or what their habits are. Maybe you have a frequent buyer versus someone that makes longer decisions but makes bigger purchases. Needs-based would be product or services, not having all of the different things that a person needs. So making sure that you can answer all of the different facets of your product or service, or maybe at different times. And then values-based. What's the economic value of a specific customer group? So you probably have incredibly large purchasers or very niche short-run purchases. What kinds of things are going to work with those people? So we've got our goals, we've got our lists, we're segmented out, and we've targeted the exact right people. How do we engage those folks? We're going to use great workflows. And so I'm going to go over some ideas and some generalities on how to set up a great workflow to re-engage and connect with the right people at the right time with the right message. Workflows are simply automated triggers that are based on what that person does when they're interacting, in this case, with your marketing. It could be in your service or your ticketing system. It could be when people call you. It could be as part of your sales cycle. But you want to have some automations to help you build and engage with people automatically. This is really easy with a good CRM. It's very, very difficult if you're running off of spreadsheets or certainly Post-it notes or whatever your team might do. But if you have a great workflow, someone fills out a form and then they're immediately presented with a number of choices. Sometimes it's a physical choice where you ask them to click here or there, or sometimes based on their activity, you're giving them the choice. Either they didn't click or they did. And so if they don't click, you're going to back up and give them a more general option. If they did click, you're going to give them more of what they clicked on. So common workflows, I love nurture first conversions. That's really where you send a email to welcome them. They've subscribed to your newsletter or they filled out a form. You're going to tell them what they can expect when they connect and engage with you. You can set out notifications when sales meetings are scheduled. If you book something, there are tools like Calendly or like HubSpot has it built in where you can do an email scheduler. If you're doing those things, it helps you to avoid all of the back and forth that goes into connecting up. And certainly, if you schedule a meeting or a webinar or a seminar or an event, you want to remind people to show up. so that they actually do arrive. In general, you want to remind folks probably a week, and then a day, and then an hour before that event. Notifying sales reps about a lead internally when people visit your website or respond to your emails or check out someone's LinkedIn profile. If they are a high value lead or someone that you've identified that has a high purchase intent, like they're browsing through the spec sheets or they're hovering over the buy now on your website, you need to submit something to your sales team. And again, you want to have that be as quick as possible. So it should go not just to the salesperson's email, but maybe even get texted to them so that they can pick up the phone and call them right away. And it's impressive. If you've ever gotten an email from someone, you filled out something on their website, and then like 3 minutes later, you get a call from someone, it's impressive when people do that. It means that you care. And again, this is different for different companies and different kinds of things. Like if I just subscribe to a newsletter, I don't want to call right away, right? But if it's a high value interaction, and if I say, please tell me more, or if you're interacting with a chat on the homepage of a website and you say, just let me talk to somebody. If I ask to talk to somebody and it takes them a week to get back to me, I've lost, that sale is gone. You can assign new web leads as things come in. Maybe it's round robin, maybe it's by geography or region or territory. And you want to set it up so that people are engaging. You can welcome blog subscribers. You can re-engage cold leads. This is something that a lot of businesses completely forget about. A lot of times what we view inside of the traditional marketing funnel is we look at them and then either they convert or they don't. And when they're gone, we pretend that they don't exist anymore. We forget about them. You have lots of gold in your cold leads or inactive customers. People that have gone cold, if you can send them something that is engaging or helpful or that revisits the reason they visited you in the first place, that's a great way to re-spark that engagement. You might want to welcome new customers. You might want to get customer feedback. This is one of those things that helps you delight your customers. There's nothing like going back to someone and saying, how did we do? And then if you interact with them and say, it was fantastic, sending them a thank you. Or if more likely there was something that was a little off or they just wanted to complain or vent, you get back to them and you answer their issue. I I went out to eat a couple of weeks ago, and it was for a big event. We had a bunch of family members out, and it was for a buffet. By the time we got to the buffet, it was the only time that we could get there. It was later in the afternoon. The buffet was mostly empty, and we had paid $60 a head for that buffet. So it was a little sad. They sent me a customer feedback as part of it, and I told them, it wasn't really worth $60 a head. I had 8 people in the room, and your desserts were all out. So I feel like we didn't get the full value. They called me the next day and they said, we're so sorry that you had that. I completely get it. We got way more inundated than we thought. Here's a gift card. Come on back and we'll do better. That's impressive. That's going to make me tell you that you should go there. I'm going to refer or recommend that company, that restaurant. You want to do the same thing with your customers. You might want to promote a new product or service. We've got a new thing coming out. We have a new way of, connecting, or there's an easier tool that you can use. We've upgraded the tooling that we used to use, and now the tolerances are even better, whatever that might be. Celebrating anniversaries. I'd be careful on personal anniversaries like birthdays and birthday notices from your industrial suppliers can get a little creepy. But, we noticed that you've been a customer now for 5 years and we'd love to send you out to dinner. Thank you so much, whatever, right? That's the kind of thing that's fun. Sending confirmation emails for events. I mentioned that before. 1 week, 1 day, 1 hour is generally a good idea. And defining your ideal customer profile. So ask people, and if you know that they are from a specific company that you're targeting, or a specific region, or have a specific job title that you're looking for, making sure that you do some automation around that. If it's the buyer, for a company, you want to make sure that you're giving them immediate attention. That's the all hands on deck, send a text to your salesperson. That's the kind of person that you want to make sure that you're getting. The trick is to simply decide the kinds of content at what point to which people that you're connecting with. So when you send these out, if you send them more of what they're asking for, and if they disengage, backing up a step and giving them more broad content to give them another chance, and if they don't interact, resolving to simply not spam that person by setting them on a low engagement or a disengaged list that I'm only going to send something to once a month is the kind of thing that's going to keep your lists connected and engaged. The worst thing that you can do is to over communicate to someone that doesn't want to be communicated to. While I'm talking about that, let's talk about what those key engagement points are for emails. So if you're sending messages out to people, the difference between spam and great email is simply being relevant to what people are doing. We notice spam when it doesn't fit our needs. We get lots and lots of email from lots and lots of people every day. The good emails are the ones that are relevant to what we're trying to do. So you want to try as much as you can to target and segment your audience so that you're only giving them things that relate to what you know that they're looking for. Incorporate that helpful information, give them an easy next step, make sure that you're using a email marketing tool. Again, great CRMs like HubSpot can do this. Constant Contact or MailChimp could be great. You don't want to just send things out on a select all and then drop people into your Outlook and then send them a whole bunch of emails with things like free or whatever. You want to make sure that you're connecting and engaging. Make sure that the subject lines are short and targeted. Make sure that you're using preview text. Preview text is what you see before you click on an email. There's usually a line or two of text underneath any email, whether it be on mobile or on a computer or a PC. And if that says, I actually had a former client of mine that they ran out of marketing budget, and so they went free and did their own thing. Every time I get an email from them, it's fairly, frankly, a good subject line. It's like, buy more things with us, blah, blah, blah. But then the preview text for them says, use preview text to help send more emails to your customers. Like, oh my God, they didn't even remember to send out the preview text to engage. So give them that next step. Great email is helpful, informative, and offers choices. You should have one call to action at the end of each email. That call to action should be displayed on average about 3 times, one within the first view of that screen, one about halfway down that email, and one down at the bottom if they've engaged all the way. And then if you give them too many choices, the more choices you have, the less likely you are to convert that customer to get them to do what you're looking to do. In order to optimize those emails, again, focus on short headlines. You want to make sure that it shows up. Google and others say in general 41 to 50 characters is a good target. It's incredibly short, but it's short because when you're looking on a 4-inch screen on your phone, that's about all that's going to fit. People don't respond to things they can't read, and if they can't see it, they're not going to click. Personalize that content when appropriate. Hey, Bob. Hey, Mary. Give them that first name. Make sure that you're not oversharing or using too much personal information. It's like, we noticed that you're a Sagittarius and you might be in retrograde this month. That's dumb. Don't do that, right? But making sure that you give them what they're looking for and that you note, their company name and their first name are fine for personalization. Maybe if you're super comfortable and if you know that you can do this responsibly, when your last purchase was, or even your favorite product, but I would be careful with those. And again, remember to personalize and promise something, give them a little sales pitch inside of that preview text. People will see your email subject line and header, but they may not click. If you give them a reason to click, they're going to open it. That's going to give you data and information. If you have a lot of opens, but very few clicks, you've come up with something interesting. If you have a few amount of opens, but for those opens, you get a lot of clicks, you probably just found a target segment, someone that you should be looking at very specifically. Give those people more of what they are looking for, and you'll make more sales. Email copy really needs to be to the point. Give them images that engage. You should have clear calls to action. And what you're trying to do is get people to actually do something inside of emails. This is incredibly important post iOS 15 and post all of the different privacy concerns that have gone out in the past 2 years. Short version, anyone that receives an email on an iPhone, the iPhone happily sends back a little, hey, this was read, because it doesn't offer any details. So what we all saw as marketers, as soon as Apple upgraded their privacy settings so that you can't get that open data, it's instead it just blanket tells you everyone opened it. And so all of our open rates went through the roof because anyone that looked at it on a phone, it registered as open. What you need to do instead is just get people to click and use those clicks as the data for here's an actual engaging content. And then remember what you're trying to do. You know, what are we trying to get people to do all the way back to our SMART goals? I want more leads that my team can work on over the next month. And I want more of those specific leads among this desired audience. Make sure that you're focusing on the value that your reader receives, promise something and give them the right content in order to connect. You know your personas. If you've spent some time identifying that ideal customer profile, make sure that it specifically talks to their needs in answering and performing the job that you promise. And then make sure that your message, that all of the conversations that you have fit in. Like you don't want to have different tones or different interaction levels. You don't want to send something that's a dude with his hat on backwards, speaking all kinds of leet speak or kid speak. And then the next one is your accountant with a tie and, you know, speaking in a droll voice, right? It should all be consistent. Have a brand and stick by it. And then again, remember, don't forget attribution. You're going to need to measure to improve. So you can go all the way back to, you know, what LinkedIn posts did this person first find us from? Or what Google ad did they click on first? And what was that campaign? And out of that campaign, how many people clicked on it? And how many of those folks are they more likely or less likely to work with us again? If you're doing the right stuff and if you're connecting and answering the right questions for those people, you're going to make more sales in the long run. So I've covered a lot, and I know that we probably have some questions. So if you have any questions about deals, attribution, any of that stuff, I'd be delighted to chat with you. Again, I do have a lead calculator that's available for you. Here's my contact information. davidbusyweb.com is how to reach me. There's my phone number, and then BZCalc, CLC, will get you to this lead generation calculator. This is actually a great example of a lead inbound flow where you're going to go in, and I'm just going to give you a little bit more of that lead generation optimization help if you fill this out. It's not a sales pitch. There's nothing that goes into this, but it's the first step in helping you figure out all of the resources that you need to make more sales. So if you want to do that, go to bit.ly/bzclc for your handy lead gen calculator. All right, that's it. Let's do some Q&A. How can I help?